in a movie where the music sounded just like this. Hello everyone, and welcome to Downhaven Entertainment. Today we will be reviewing The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Brick Mansion. Really? Hollywood? Really? Sony Entertainment? Come on. Mark Webb. He did a good job with what he had to work with. Jamie Foxx was fantastic. He's becoming one of my favorite actors. He was phenomenal in this movie. He pulled off the insecure nut job to the most intimidating characters seamlessly in this movie. Even though the character development was lacking, Jamie Foxx won me over with his acting. Superb job. Dane DeHaan. He put in a great performance as Harry Osborn. His motivations were sensible and clear. He wasn't too likable, but he wasn't necessarily a bad guy, but sadly underdeveloped. Now let's get into what worked for the movie. Spider-Man here in this movie is the best Spider-Man put to screen in my opinion. The movement and contortions of his body, the wisecracks, it was like it was taken straight out of the comics, and a great follow-up from the previous movie in the sense of continuity and character development. Electro looked cool. He looked like Dr. Manhattan gone bad or his evil brother. It was really cool looking. Let me just say one thing, I'm glad they put boxers on this guy. The special effects were off the hook, and they were pretty realistic for the most part. But sadly, we have to get into what didn't work. This movie was way too crowded, way too much characters and plots intertwining. Gwen Stacy got her story going on, and Peter's got his situation, trying to dig up an old mystery from his childhood, and dealing with crime, and Electro, and Aunt May, and Harry. All meanwhile, Electro has his small story and Harry Osborn has his own little story. And the cameos were off the charts. I didn't care at all what was going on in this movie because there was too much going on. Now what they should have done was make this Electro's movie. Electro going against Spider-Man while Spider-Man is digging up his past. That's all we need. All we really have to do is build up Harry Osborn's character in this movie. You know, the way they've done it in the first half of this movie with you help me and I help you situation. Then the third movie can be all about Harry as the main villain, because Jamie Foxx knocked his performance out of the park, and I wanted to see his character evolve, but he only did one major thing in this movie as a major villain. All this build-up and all this excitement about Jamie Foxx as Electro, he does one thing. Oh, and he's not the only one. Same goes for Harry Osborn in this movie. He only does one thing, and he lasted but barely 2 minutes. 2 years for 2 minutes. And all of the secrecy around Richard Parker's death and the secrets that he's been withholding is underwhelming. We've waited all this time to see the untold story of the Parkers, and the secret turns out to be Oscorp is not a good place. That's it? We already know that. The main character already knows that. The tone of the movie was all over the place. The first time we see Gwen Stacy and Peter Parker together, it was uplifting and fun and felt like we were going to have fun in this movie. Then the next time we see them, Peter gets all emotional out of nowhere. I know why he gets emotional, it just wasn't needed at that time. But then again, if this movie weren't so crowded, things would flow more smoothly. Like the first movie. The music. I don't know, Hans. Your music, again, was beautifully done, but it didn't fit Spider-Man. If this music was done for The Flash or better yet Shazam, this would absolutely be perfect. I think Danny Elfman's music in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is the quintessential Spider-Man music. It had all the elements of powerful, vulnerability, hopeful, tragic, sinister. But here in this movie, Hans Zimmer was kind of generic. DC generic to be exact. Or even for the Super Bowl.
But more important than who won is the character of the men that took the field in those games, men that continue to distinguish themselves. Franco Harris is a player, he hammered defenses. Today, as a prominent businessman, he watches his modern counterpart, Emmitt Smith. He dominates the way Franco did. As you admire quarterback Troy Aikman's leadership and courage, you can't help but recall cowboy great Roger Staubach, now a highly successful CEO.
Again, Sony with their movie campaign showing bits and clips and TV spots and 5-minute previews. Stop. I try my best to avoid it, but it's everywhere. It's in the pictures and commercials and especially YouTube, so I pretty much had a good idea what was going to happen in the movie. Another thing I didn't like in this movie was the dialogue. It felt very forced and unnatural. They were like, "Hey, buddy.
What's
Hey,
up, buddy?
oh, man, there he
Hey,
is.
friend.
There he is.
Here I am.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm here.
You doing good?
I'm
You
here.
gonna go out for
Yeah.
pizza?
Yeah, I'm hungry. I
You
can
gonna go shopping?
Oh, yeah, get some clothes for the ladies. Yeah, the ladies. Yeah.
Oh, and that really cool shot that was in the trailer of Rhino and Spider-Man going to be in a battle like it was going to be in the intro of the movie or something like that. No, it doesn't happen. And on top of that, it's at the end. The end of the movie. You don't get to see squat. They even put him in the poster of this movie. Why? Pass me. I need a little help on how to describe this. Bull crap. Bull crap. Overall, major disappointment. We've waited a long time, people, a very long time just to get a setup movie for other characters in future movies. That's all it was. Sony Entertainment trying to do this whole Avengers thing for extra cash when in fact all they had to do was partner with Disney to expand the universe of Spider-Man. But the bigwigs of Sony Entertainment are stingy pricks who don't see that. I don't blame Mark Webb. I don't blame the writers. They did a great job in this movie. I blame Sony Entertainment for this farce of a movie. Everyone did a fantastic job in this movie, but it's Hollywood that brings quality down. This is Hollywood at its best, screwing up storytelling all for the love of money. So after adding all of this up, I have to give this movie a solid B. Brick Mansions, the second movie to make me puke since Taken 2.
This movie has the same creative team.
No wonder.
Wow, these actors did an amazing job in these action pieces. Let me screw it up with 15 camera angles and splice through all of them as fast as we can. Let's say 5 every 2 seconds. And on top of that, let's shake the camera uncontrollably.
Oh man, Paul Walker, why did you accept to do this movie? You're in one of the most successful franchises to ever hit Hollywood. Who was his agent? Who signed him up for this dreck? I don't even know what to say. Let's talk about what worked for this movie. David Bell, for his amazing stunt work. Now let's talk about what didn't work. Everything else. There were so many unintentionally funny moments in this flick. The main antagonist in this movie was a joke. His henchman was a joke. There was a scene like, "Alright, you guys know I'm the boss and I'm about to kill this guy over here for failing. I should send you 6 feet under for messing." What was so funny?
No, man. Let's go.
Is this situation funny to you?
No, man.
Do I amuse you? You find this funny?
No, man. Just keep on doing your thing. Do your thing. I know you're the boss. You keep doing your thing. No, nothing funny. No, I'm not, man.
Who writes this? If this was a comedy, it would work, but it's not. Therefore, fail for trying to make an intimidating villain. Sorry, RZA. Dude, the antagonist's second-hand man was more appropriate for the main antagonist role. The dialogue was awful. It sounded like how rich white people wrote dialogue for ghetto black people in their idea of what they think of how they sound like. It was like, "Hey dog, where's T-Bones at?"
None of your business, man.
Oh man, come on dog. Why the hating, huh? Why the hating?
Check yourself, bruh. I'ma have to bust a cap in your dome. Let me blast my hip-hop music to show how scary us ghetto black folk be.
You know what? This movie was bad. I walked out of it when the plot involved a huge weapon of mass destruction. This movie is garbage. It's not self-aware. It takes itself too seriously, and it's written horribly. I don't have much to say about this movie. The stunts were cool, but the editing screwed it up and made it unwatchable. If you guys want to know how to film parkour, then watch Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I'm glad that this is not the last movie we get to see Paul Walker in. Otherwise, it would have been a shame. So after adding all this up, I have to give this movie a solid F.